John Motson.
The first all-seater FA Cup final and the first football match in this country to attract total receipts of over £2 million. That's the size of the occasion, and that's what today's 80,000 capacity crowd have paid to watch the 109th final and the 62nd at Wembley. And they're enjoying their day already, aren't they? The stadium itself still being improved. New seating has of course been installed since last year. There are still seats being inserted even now as Wembley bids to be competitive in the next century, because news this week that the Football Association are looking into the possibility of a new stadium in the Midlands. But I'm assured by Graham Kelly that that's not a bid to replace Wembley, merely to offer an alternative. And it looks as though the Cup final will stay in what's been its spiritual home since 1923. The magnetism of the FA Cup encapsulated not just in the day itself, when these fans can enjoy themselves at the end of the road to Wembley, but in the deeds and the daring of all those who played a part along the way. From the smallest who began back in September, as we saw earlier, the minnows and the giant killers, and now we're left with just two clubs. And what a contrast. Manchester United, a season of turmoil, of boardroom politics, but like the phoenix, they always seem to rise again, don't they? Their 11th FA Cup final, bidding to equal Aston Villa and Tottenham for this famous club. There's their manager Alex Ferguson, describing this as the biggest day of his life. And Steve Coppell, at 34, the youngest ever manager of an FA Cup final team. And what a moment it is for these Palace lads and their fans. The first time the club has been in the FA Cup final, and they're bound to get an appropriate reception. Crystal Palace, very much the underdogs. But as we've been saying since we came on the air, this is all on the day, and who knows what to expect. One or two United players a bit late out there, but now they're into the fresh air of Wembley, and just listen to this. Crystal Palace, who's played in all the divisions of the Football League. This is their finest hour, really, in the public eye. Only 14,000 of their supporters actually got tickets, but both of these clubs have quite a following in other countries as well. And a nice moment as Steve Coppell, a former Manchester United Cup finalist on 3 occasions, talks to his opposite number. They're great friends away from the tension of this occasion, the two managers. And as they stride across this quite perfect surface, the team's already entering into the mood of the day. It's buoyant, it's optimistic, it's good-natured, and we all hope it stays that way. Just look at the balloons. I think you may have caught a shot in the Royal Box earlier of João Havelange, the top man of FIFA. He's here, not just in that capacity, but Steve Coppell takes up his position. Up in the crowd are members of the International Olympic Committee, who are here as part of Manchester's Olympic bid for 1996. João Havelange on the front row, and of course also there today, we see him, I think he'll be next to Graham Kelly and his wife, Lennart Johansson from Sweden, who has already today made his mark, agreeing to Colin Moynihan's request that the decision on English clubs being readmitted to Europe will not be made until after the World Cup. Now, there's Lennart Johansson at the front, tanned and fit on the right. Now, by doing that, he's more or less given the winners today a passport into Europe next season, subject to our followers behaving in Sardinia. So an extra incentive then for the FA Cup winners this afternoon. The teams will be presented to the Duke of Kent in a moment or two. And we shall have the protocol of the national anthem as the Duke walks out, flanked there on the right of the picture by Bert Millichip, the chairman of the FA. And Ernest Brown on the left, the Challenge Cup committee, and Graham Kelly, who's had a very busy week, just joining them.
The Football Association, who is accompanied on the arena by officials of the Football Association. With the Royal Highnesses, ladies and gentlemen, the national anthem.
Was paid due respect, I'm pleased to say, this year, and Jeff Thomas, who actually is a Manchester boy by birth, captain of Crystal Palace, will now present his players to the Duke. Nigel Martin, the goalkeeper, was the first one in, and Andy Thorne, who played here 2 years ago, knows about the ceremonials here. David Madden got the second substitutes position, by the way. Alan Pardew, the light-haired player, got the winner in the semi-final. Phil Barber next to him is a wide player. And then we have Mark Bright and Ian Wright, who in the end was a substitute. Andy Gray, will watch for him on the free kicks and corners. Richard Shaw, the left back with the dreadlocks. John Salako from Nigeria. And Johnny Pemberton. And David Madden next to Steve Coppell. And now the players of Manchester United, introduced by Brian Robson. Jim Leighton, who Bob Wilson was talking about earlier. Neil Webb with a bit to prove in front of Bobby Robson today. Mark Hughes is next to Neil Webb. In fact, the FA chairman perhaps having a word about the World Cup there, who knows. Lee Martin, the left back. Clayton Blackmore, substitute. Michael Phelan, right back. Gary Pallister, Brian McClare, Steve Bruce, little Danny Wallace, Mark Robbins, the 20-year-old substitute, and looking very composed to his left is Paul Ince, standing next to the manager. Now, Trevor Brooking, you've been through all this before. Is it a tense time, or is that part of the day as far as the players are concerned?
Well, I think by now they're just relieved to be out on the pitch. It's a hectic build-up, 4 or 5 weeks, and now the big moment has arrived. The action's about to begin, and I really think, they're just looking forward to getting the match going. And I think probably a little bit selfishly, personally, as a player, you're just thinking to yourself, I hope I have a reasonable game myself. There's so many people watching, friends, family, and everyone, televised throughout the world, and I think deep down you just hope you have a reasonable game, and if, as well, the icing on the cake is the team winning, lifting that cup. And which one's it going to be? Who knows?
Well, as you say, the worldwide audience grows every year. We're talking now in terms of 700 million, would you believe, who see these pictures either live or recorded. And to anybody watching in other parts of the world, we say welcome again to the FA Cup final. We hope you'll enjoy it with us, because we're now going to give you a final check on the two team lineups. And the newcomers, Crystal Palace, have selected the side that played Liverpool in the semi-final. Now, despite the morning speculation, I have a feeling that it was always doubtful that Ian Wright would start the game. He is a substitute, and Steve Coppell's main decision really this morning was who should be the second sub, as I said in the introductions, David Madden got the vote, and there were a few tears at the hotel this morning from one or two of those who didn't make it. The unlucky players, Eddie McGoldrick, Rudy Hedman, Jeff Hopkins. But that's the team that beat Liverpool 4-3, and certainly it's the formation which Palace know exactly can do a job for them, with possibly Andy Gray at number 4, the man to watch on the set plays, and Mark Bright, the main striker, at number 9. As for Manchester United, well, Alex Ferguson had one or two thoughts, but the semi-final replay team against Oldham won his nod of approval, with Danny Wallace selected ahead of Mark Robbins, who was one of the substitutes. And Alex Ferguson also slept on the selection of his second sub. Clayton Blackmore just edged out Mal Donaghy. But Michael Phelan at number 5 will play right back, and Hughes will be very much alone up front in theory, but in practice Webb number 8 and the other midfield players will be expected to give him support. And I suppose, Trevor, if there is a player with a point to prove over and beyond the actual final, it's Neil Webb, who's trying to get his match sharpness back in time for the World Cup.
Well, I think he did exceptionally well in the semi-finals, but he was getting back to fitness, and the Achilles tendon is one of those injuries, you know, you get that initial confidence, and there just seems to be a levelling out then in the last few performances. And I think now what Bobby Robson is looking for is just that extra yard of sharpness, a little bit of a sort of quickening up, I think, because the acceleration is very important when you make that switch from club football to sort of international level.
Well, in the centre circle, the two captains present a nice little opposite here, because Brian Robson on the right is bidding to become the first captain to receive the FA Cup 3 times at Wembley, and Jeff Thomas on the left started life as a part-time player with Rochdale when he was working as an electrician. He supported Manchester City, and he used to catch the team coach in his overalls in those days. What a change for him here today as captain of an FA Cup final team. The referee is Alan Gunn from South Chailey in Sussex, and his claim to fame, apart from his achievements in the middle, is that he went to grammar school with Desmond Lynam in Brighton. His two linesmen, we have Colin Reeve from Norfolk and Larry Watson from Coventry. In fact, Larry Watson on the Royal Box side, Colin Reeve on our side. And I just wonder what part Andy Gray might play today, because if anybody made Liverpool come unstuck with his corners and his free kicks, it was Andy Gray. And in a very private training session yesterday afternoon, Palace worked on those with some industry. And so the first FA Cup final of the 1990s is about to get underway. Crystal Palace won the vote, or the toss I should say, for choice of colours, and they're wearing their familiar red and blue vertical stripes. A very nice strip it is too. Manchester United in all white, which their long-serving supporters will remind me they used in the finals of 1957, and although I don't think any of us go back that far, 1909 when they first won the Cup. So Palace start the game. As has already been said, this surface is in quite marvellous condition. Brian Robson himself said to me he can't recall the Wembley pitch looking and feeling better. If you can't play on this, was his pre-match comment, well, perhaps you shouldn't be here. Pemberton challenging Hughes. Wallace tries to get in. This is Gray for Palace. That's Lee Martin at left back, only 22, but strangely enough the longest serving player at Old Trafford. He's been connected with Manchester United since he was 12 years old. Big day for him. And I've noticed Richard Shaw, the Palace number 3, who does a fine marking job, as we've seen against Beardsley in the semi-final. He's gone towards Neil Webb, Trevor, early on.
Well, in fact, we said Mark Hughes would be a lone striker up for United, but Mark Bright is going to be a lone striker for Palace. And as you say, Richard Shaw is pushed into, because Neil Webb plays a floating role, really, breaking from midfield, and he's going to mark him, certainly. And John Salako going to play left back almost.
Barber tries to play the ball through. Yes, John Salako played left back in the semi-final against Liverpool, wearing number 10, and he's there again. His job, I think, will be to shadow Brian McClare on the United right, as we try to form a view on the various tactical implications. Here's Michael Phelan, number 5 for United. Thorne away. Since in midfield, although he's wearing number 2, that's where you'll find him. Pallister for Manchester United. McClare has now pulled away to the left. And look where Sulako's gone. He's gone with him. That's a man-to-man arrangement by Crystal Palace. They prepare so carefully. Steve Coppell there with Alan Smith and Ian Branfoot on the bench. Their tactical approach to these big games. It certainly paid off at Villa Park. I wonder if it will at Wembley. And already Wallace and McClare have swapped sides, and Sulako and Pemberton have done the same. Now here is a position for Andy Gray early in the game. Gary O'Reilly has gone forward, and Palace have prepared so carefully for these. Bright has got his arm up in the middle. O'Reilly's there as well. That's all part of the ploy, this hesitation. They're appealing for offside. It's not been given. It's Bright. And that is exactly, Trevor, what Palace have been working on, getting Bright free on the right-hand side of the penalty area from a kind of delayed free kick like that.
Andy Gray did very well to hold it up, because the interesting thing was Manchester United defence. They've had a look at how to combat it, and they decided to hold the 18-yard box. Nobody went into the 18-yard box, make sure that any header was going to be a long way from goal. Tried to play the offside, and that's why Andy Gray was holding it up before he eventually did give it. And in fact, they did sort of get through the offside trap.
Yes, the flag stayed down. This is Webb for United to Phelan. Hughes being shadowed by Gary O'Reilly. Tried to find Robson. Jeff Thomas was back there for Palace. Sulako. Looking for Bright, who will have to battle a little bit on his own, as Hughes will. But they're arriving to support now. That was Pallister. Offside flag up. Referee says play on, because Palace had the advantage, and now it's a foul by Robson. Perfect playing conditions. It's a cool afternoon, and Andy Thorne will drive this free kick forward. Group of 3 just outside the penalty area waiting for Palace, including O'Reilly. But that wasn't the delivery they wanted. Phelan's header, McClare. United manager watches anxiously as Wallace gets the ball. That's Sulako trying to clear with 5 minutes gone. It's a good header by Barber, actually, and here's Thomas. Bright's pulling away in the inside right channel, but he's a long way away. He'll want somebody a bit closer. Barber is the player. Phelan. Now, not only does he take corners and free kicks, Andy Gray, but he also possesses a very good long throw. O'Reilly there again. Thomas is in there. Shaw is too. Bright tries to make it. Here's Webb, and Shaw goes to meet him. At the moment, Manchester United have got Danny Wallace further forward with Hughes, and he's being shadowed by Pemberton. This is Bruce. Looks for Hughes. Brian Robson's made a good run from midfield. Webb. Hughes. Kept his feet, but no, he was fouled by O'Reilly. United's free kick. This is Phelan. Bruce is in the middle still, so is Robson. Ince. Sulako's got time. Wallace. Webb. Sulako. Ince. They want somebody wide really, and no one's gone there yet. Hughes. Now Ince has himself. Hughes again. Can Ince catch it? Wallace is in the middle, so is Robson. Goal kick.
Well, it was a good idea. In fact, Paul Ince had got in there for the 1-2, and it was a bit of a heavy ball by Mark Hughes, but good build-up by Manchester United, and really that's what they've got to do, take turns. Ince, Robson and Webb, really the three central midfield players, all taking it in turns, rotating to join Mark Hughes like that.
Wembley now bathed in sunshine as Pallister battles with Bright. This is Thomas. This is Pardew. Hughes held them off really well. McClare. Pallister going through a good spell at the moment. The Manchester United Player of the Year. He was voted last week. Handball given and a free kick. This is Phelan. Webb. Corner. Wallace will come across to take it, and Manchester United here will leave Steve Bruce in the penalty area. He's handing a balloon to the referee at the moment. He's got Brian Robson there deep with him. Pallister facing the kicker with McClare. McClare. Crystal Palace didn't meet a First Division side in the FA Cup until they played Liverpool in the semi-final, and Manchester United didn't play at home, so it's been a fairly unorthodox route to Wembley for both clubs. This is Ince. Bruce. Hughes comes short. He looks lively, Mark Hughes, in this opening period. And he's found Robson. And that's McClare, and Robson goes again. It's cleared by Phil Barber. Lee Martin. Hughes. And Thorne had to be quick there. Andy Gray. Bright to his right. Gray goes again. Martin saw space in front of him there. Danny Wallace on the left wing. Takes on Pemberton, and this is Shaw. Good spreading play that by Crystal Palace, and Mark Bright's pulling wide at every opportunity to stretch the Manchester United defence. This is Sulako, and there goes Pardew, and Jim Leighton made an early decision. And it was an emphatic clearance from Alan Pardew. Barber. Now a corner off Phelan. And the Palace fans roar with anticipation because they know just how dangerous corners can be. And you can't help thinking back to that semi-final, can you? Andy Thorne will take up his familiar near-post position, and Gary O'Reilly's there too. Jim Leighton's got Barber in front of him. And O'Reilly's up there, and it was Brian McClare with the overhead kick, and Wallace with a little header, and McClare again. Good defending by Manchester United, and a good run on the far side by Neil Webb. It was just driven behind him, rather, by McClare, who acknowledges that that wasn't the best of passes. But it was McClare who actually got the danger away from his own penalty area in the first place. Driven forward again by Thorne. That's the ball that they want to play to Bright. Martin. Now Hughes. It span off Thorne to Hughes, and that's a good-looking ball for Danny Wallace. McClare's in the middle. Brian Robson's joining him now. Still Wallace against Pemberton. Corner. Alistair being marked by Bright. McClare in the 6-yard box. McClare. Here's Ince.
Paul Ince walking back. No, couldn't quite get over that ball. The interesting thing with both teams playing just an isolated striker is that most of the space on the pitch, not surprisingly, in midfield is pretty congested. Most of the space is in the back, and remember in the first semi-final, Alan Hansen in the first half, which Liverpool dominated, kept bringing the ball out and carrying it out the Crystal Palace midfield and defenders. And I think that's what Manchester United have got to do. Stevie Bruce, Gary Pallister in particular, run with the ball and get somebody committed and then release it then.
That was Bright. Pardew. And Bright finds Gray. Well, Lee Martin obstructed him. So, another chance for Gray to examine the Manchester United defence with his free kick. O'Reilly and Thorne both there again with Bright. Offside, Mark Bright. Well, obviously Manchester United have also been rehearsing what to do in those situations, Trevor.
Well, we saw a good camera shot just before that with everyone lined up on that 18-yard box, which happened with that first free kick, which is why Andy Gray hesitated and didn't play it too early. On that occasion, he hit it first time, and Man United had given it a shout, moved up, and there's the offside.
Quarter of an hour gone. 0-0 in the FA Cup final. Mark Hughes to Michael Phelan. Away by Andy Thorne to Phil Barber. This is Webb. Ince in a good position. Solako, his clearances so far haven't been quite where he intends them to go, but Gray was helping out there. Pardew. Well, there are periods in the match when Palace will be quite happy to concede space and let Manchester United come at them for a certain distance, because that was their strategy against Liverpool, and in a funny way it worked. Pemberton was stretching there, but it was a good header from a player who actually had a short time with Manchester United as a junior player, John Pemberton. McClare. Barrett, again, moving right out to the touchline, taking defenders with him. Gray. And still, well, he was flattened the second time. Danny Wallace. Now this could be dangerous once Gray gets to his feet, provided he's fit enough to take the free kick. Dave West, the Palace physio, will come on, who's never been to an FA Cup final before, so it's quite a day for him as well. Steve Coppell making a few notes. Of course, they sit so close to each other at Wembley, the two managers. You can see some great football names there, can't you, in the box? Billy Wright, Stan Cullis, Ron Greenwood. It's like a Hall of Fame back there. But back to the modern game. Free kick to Crystal Palace. Andy Gray's back on his feet to take it. Thorne O'Reilly's in there. And was it over the line? And it's a goal. Gary O'Reilly. After 19 minutes, it was in the net before Steve Bruce could get his foot to it. And Crystal Palace, the underdogs, have taken the lead in precisely the way many people expected. The free kick, I think it was bent in by Barber there. Whether that came off Pallister's head as well, I'm not quite sure. O'Reilly's taken the congratulations. It was bent in by Gray. And was that Pallister or O'Reilly? Anyway, Bruce couldn't keep it out, and Palace are in front.
Well, they took the lead just as probably everyone anticipated Palace would if they did score from a set piece. And on that occasion, of course, it was right near the touchline. Manchester United couldn't push out to the 18-yard box. They were hemmed in near the penalty spot. Jim Leighton, to be fair, did come for the cross, didn't get there, and it looped agonisingly into the empty net and 1-0.
So, Crystal Palace, from the rehearsed free kick, make the set plays pay again. Well, United can't say they weren't warned. Phil Barber, I think, actually curled the ball in when Andy Gray was perhaps expected to take it. Well, in the semi-final, Palace came from behind. Today they've gone in front, but both semi-finals were such fluctuating matches. That's just the start. I'm sure there's a lot more to come. This is Ince. Hughes.
Just as I thought, the first 20 minutes were a little bit disappointing. Here we go, we get the goal. And I always feel in a big occasion like this, the match needs a goal. Probably the Manchester United supporters don't agree with that at the moment, but I think you do need a goal just to open the game up, and I'm sure now we'll see it do that. And Manchester United, as I say, have to now start bringing the ball out of defence and start committing. The Palace defenders, who, having filled up that midfield, have now broken out, got the goal, and are now going to sit and wait and see what Manchester United can do.
Well, if I can just refer back again to the semi-final at Main Road, Oldham, of course, took an early lead, didn't they, against Manchester United? Earl Barrett, and what a game that developed into. Maybe we'll get a similar sort of response here from the Cup favourites. This is Salako, though, for Palace. And what an opening it's been for Steve Coppell's team. Here's McClare. Wallace. And still Wallace. Well, the ricochet favoured Salako there. This is Pallister. Now Bruce. Ince. Thorne on Wallace. Now Brian Robson and Neil Webb having a conversation. And this is Robson, and it's away by Thorne. Wallace back in, offside Hughes. Well, an early goal always sets off the FA Cup final, and there are plenty of excited faces in the crowd. Wallace, Thomas, Pardew, Gray, Bright, Thomas! Oh, a chance for number 2. It fell to his wrong foot. Jeff Thomas, predominantly a left-footed player, could only steer that into the arms of Jim Leighton. Hughes. This is Ince. Robson. Free kick. This will be indirect. So Manchester United, who've gone behind to a goal from a free kick, now have one themselves about 25 yards out. But can they be as inventive as Crystal Palace? I have a feeling that maybe in training Palace work a little more at free kicks than Manchester United do. Perhaps they have to in some ways, because their football is more of a percentage game, I think it's fair to say. But Alex Ferguson always encourages players to have a shot from here, although this is indirect, so it'll have to be touched to Neil Webb if he is going to strike it. And that is Webb.
Just in the sort of position, well, about 10, 12 yards outside the penalty area, a little bit too far out to perhaps beat the goalkeeper from that range, but being in the middle of the goal, you know, you've got to try and chance a shot. But of course, the best positions are probably the ones where, unless they're just outside the penalty area, or else the one out wide where Crystal Palace score, because you can then whip the crosses in, and they do cause problems.
20 minutes left in the first half. Crystal Palace 1, Manchester United 0, offside against Andy Gray. Ince. Wallace. Now Lee Martin's made a good run forward here. This is Hughes. And it's still Hughes. And it's touched back in, and Thorne turned it back, and Brian Robson was within a foot or so of getting there before the goalkeeper. Thorne just not perhaps quite as certain as normal. There's Robson closed in. Well, the Minister of Sport must be fairly pleased with the response he got from the UEFA President before the kick-off today. Colin Moynihan can now enjoy the game after a busy week. Now Andy Gray with the long throw. He's looking for Bright. Robson heads out. Richard Shaw's in there. Are they offside? Yes. Trevor, these set pieces really do seem to upset teams, don't they? I mean, it was the undoing of Liverpool, and now Palace are putting Manchester United under a great deal of stress.
Well, Manchester United obviously decided the offside trap is the way to try and combat it, but on occasions that is going to break down, and really you have got to compete with the people that you're marking. And at the moment, it is Crystal Palace men who are getting the flick-ons, and Manchester United are hoping they're going to get the offside, because really they're not getting to the first header.
This is Phelan, though, and they're coming in from the far post. McClare! And well blocked Salako. It's a goal kick because McClare, I think, got an extra touch, although he wouldn't agree with that. John Salako did some valiant defending there for Crystal Palace. It was a delightful ball from Michael Phelan. It was aimed at McClare, but Salako was closing it down. Phelan very comfortable at right back, even though he was essentially brought to play in midfield. Well, Nigel Martin will be pleased with the way the players in front of him have performed so far. Pallister and Bright. This is Thomas. Phelan. Now Pardew with Robson, and Pardew beat the England captain there cleanly. And they're enjoying this, Pardew and Thomas. They were obviously going to be up against it with Webb, Ince and Robson, three highly rated players in the Manchester United midfield. But that's the sort of challenge that Crystal Palace, the street fighters as Steve Coppell calls them, really relish. And they're leading by 1-0 and showing no signs of being overawed by the occasion. Responding to it, in fact, very much the way that Coventry and Wimbledon did, and how often that happens in a cup final.
In Crystal Palace, there's significant difference. Oldham had Milligan and Henry. They had 2 against 3, whereas Stevie Coppell's decided to play Richard Shaw and Webb, and that has given them a 3 against 3, and they're just denying Man United space in that vital area at the moment.
This is Ince, and now it's Pallister, and McClare's in the middle, and so is Robson in a very good position coming in now. Danny Wallace. Another good cross. Hughes is putting his back into this, and Phil Barber getting back again to do a good defensive job. So we've been playing for half an hour. It's Manchester United a goal behind, and not much going right there for Gary Pallister. And if you by any chance came in late, this is the goal. It's the free kick curled in. Now O'Reilly and Pallister drops behind the line before Bruce can get there. And that's how things stand after half an hour's play in the 1990 Cup Final. The Eagles from South London are flying high at the moment. And it's a question of whether Manchester United can produce the devilment and the authority that their aristocratic team would expect to show on a day like this. It's a test now of their quality and their nerve. Palace beat them at Old Trafford in the league, remember, drew with them at Selhurst Park. So there was never any question of an inferiority complex by the outsiders here today. McClare. Oh, nice touch by Mark Hughes, driven forward by Neil Webb, but not where he wanted it to go. And, well, he was a graduate in economics at Liverpool University, Steve Coppell, so his academic upbringing has obviously helped him as a manager. Finds time to make notes. fact, Gary O'Reilly, whose presence produced that goal, is also well qualified with 2 A-levels, but for the moment it's Lee Martin to Danny Wallace. Martin, good effort, and my word, a bit more height, and Lee Martin might have surprised everybody, but Nigel Martin was well placed and he's perfectly capable of stretching for those. Decent effort though. This is Gray, that's Bright, and Gray right in again. Bright nearly made that. The bombardment of crosses is still worrying Manchester United. Palace don't waste time in getting the ball in there. Here's Phelan. Foul, Barber. Wallace, good ball in, Hughes is there, McClare! And I think that hit a Palace player last, that's a corner. I think John Salako was the player that actually got that ball out. It was Danny Wallace's whip cross, and I'm pretty sure that comes off Salako. Webb will take the corner, Pallister on the near post, McClare on the goal line, Bruce and Robson waiting to come in. A back header, oh goodness me. I think that was probably Mark Bright who actually got his head to that. So look at it again. Yes, number 9 for Palace.
He'd probably say Nigel Martin called him for it, and so he just knocked it back to him. But a good, great hot catch, in fact, by Nigel Martin, who hasn't had a lot to do, for 35 minutes, but held on to that very well.
Here's Wallace, up against Pemberton. That's awkward. Oh, good header, O'Reilly. Not very far out, though. Ince. Brian Robson's right on the 18-yard line as an auxiliary attacker. This is Phelan. Pallister. They want it played in. Hughes is waiting too. But Palace's defensive play at the moment is sound. It's compact. And if Gray hadn't been impeded, they would have been away there, but this is Martin. Referee saw nothing wrong. Ince. That's a good-looking ball for McClare. Wallace comes near post. Wallace. McClare. Robson! Goal! Brian Robson equalises for Manchester United after 35 minutes, and Captain Marvel is there again. Now, good play here. Danny Wallace just worked the ball out wide. The cross was delivered long to the far post, and Brian rolls a deflection off a defender as well there. It's 1 each. And as Robson gets the header in, that's John Pemberton, I think, was it? Or maybe the man in front of him that just diverted it to make it 1-1. Well, what an exciting cup final we've got here now. Great emotion in the crowd, but Robson gets into the penalty area when and where it counts. They're level again.
That was about the third similar cross in about the last 3 or 4 minutes. Danny Wallace who got a couple over, and then it was Brian McClare.
Gray's in there for Palace now. Good turn, and it's just a bit too long for Mark Bright. Well, a few people said to me on the way to the ground today, it's going to be a game of goals, and it looks as though it's going to turn out just like that. 1-1 at the moment, and there's promise of more to come. And crosses, which we're constantly told lead to more goals than any other type of play, are proving deadly again today for both teams. Get the ball wide, get it in the area quickly, and it pays dividends. McClare. Pulling of the shirt surely by Hughes on O'Reilly, and the other way round at the end, but it It'll be a free kick to Palace. 8 minutes left in the first half. Crystal Palace 1, Manchester United 1. And the news from Hampden Park, it's 0-0 between Celtic and Aberdeen. Celtic going for their third consecutive Scottish Cup triumph. And Aberdeen, of course, Alex Ferguson's old club, with whom he won that hat-trick of Scottish Cups and then a fourth one as well. But he won't have much time to think about that at the moment. He regards this as a much greater occasion and a much sterner test for him and his team. But they're back in business, Manchester United. I must say as well, what a good cross by Brian McClair that produced that goal for Manchester United. Following smart work by Danny Wallace, McClair really delivered that ball well. This is Bruce. In by Wallace. Webb. McClair. Hughes. No, not quite. Can Phelan retrieve it? He can. McClair. And it could so easily have been 2-1 to United. And Alex Ferguson thought it was for a moment. He was on his feet as Brian McClair, who made the first goal, nearly scored the second. It's Webb working well there on the far side. It nearly ran for Hughes. Now look what happens. Michael Phelan, a great cutback, and McClair's header the wrong side of the post.
A superb cross by Michael Phelan, and really Brian McClair will go in at half-time wondering how on earth he missed it. One of those, he turned to head it, I'm pretty sure he thought it was going to go into the net, but he didn't get it round far enough, and really it was unchallenged, and he'll know a recognised striker such as himself, I think, should have tucked that away.
Well, Manchester United have come back really fired up in the last 10 minutes. Here's Pardew. And the response of their supporters is a testament to that. Here's Thomas for Palace. But if you go back to the final against Brighton, they were 1 down, weren't they, Manchester United, in the first half? And eventually we had a very exciting 2-2 draw. Have a drink, Steve. Hughes. Pardew. And on the right is Mark Bright, and he's offside. Well, no complaints about the entertainment value here, Trevor.
Well, indeed not, and both goals really probably had slight deflections involved, didn't they? The first, they had Gary O'Reilly, Gary Pallister challenged him and probably did touch as well, he said, but Gary O'Reilly claimed that. And then, of course, Brian Robson's had a good downward header, and, of course, skimming off the surface, and John Pemberton trying to block it, just went off his shin and really probably helped deflect it past Nigel Martin. But, you know, both goals balancing each other out, one apiece, probably on the balance of play about right, but Manchester United, having got level, just perhaps enjoying a bit of domination at the moment.
This is Ince. Richard Shaw still sticking close to Neil Webb. Tension. That's what it's called. Thomas. Now he's got Bright and Gray waiting on the far side of the area. Barber. Bright comes in first. Oof. Headed by Pallister. Now Thomas. And now Gray battling with two defenders. Oh my goodness me. That was a high challenge by Brian Robson on John Pemberton. But it will suit Crystal Palace to have a free kick here, won't it? I've talked a lot about Andy Gray bending them in, but he scored. That was a pretty rough and tumble challenge by the England captain. Gray actually scored. He's talking to Alan Gunn with a terrific free kick against Manchester City last week at Selhurst. Wonder if he might be tempted to try a shot from here. Jim Leighton will be aware of that. He's got a long line of white shirts in front of him. That was Thomas who had the shot, and I suspect there was a player offside anyway. Well, we're 3 minutes away from half-time, Trevor. It seems to have gone very quickly. What's your summary?
Well, I think Manchester United probably have had more possession, but Crystal Palace playing similar tactics to against Liverpool, absorbing pressure and then breaking out and relying on, they're so dangerous at set pieces. We've said, corner kicks, free kicks and those long throw-ins. They got the goal from that. Probably be a bit disappointed then to have allowed Manchester United to get level before half-time, but United from their point of view will be quite relieved because at that stage it looked as if their sort of system of playing three central midfield players was being nullified by Palace's hard work and graft, but now they're getting extra men forward to support Mark Hughes, and that's opening him up a bit.
That's Pallister. Phelan's had a good half actually at right back. He's given valuable support on the right hand side. This is Ince, and he's taking on Jeff Thomas. Flags up. Free kick to United. Now Pallister has joined the attack, so has Bruce. McClare's in there too, so is Hughes and Robson. Good header, Gary O'Reilly, my goodness. His A-levels were in geography and biology. He gave up a university career to play football. It's paying off for him. Corner to Manchester United. McClare with Martin. Corner again. It's the last minute of the first half, and Manchester United are finishing it on a high, having been a goal down. Pallister's in there. Here's Ince with Thomas. But Ince again. Danger on the far side here. It's Bruce. Gets a corner, does he? No. Well, Wembley Cup finals have always produced goals. Hasn't been a 0-0 here, and there won't be one today. Steve Bruce actually has taken a knock, and I think that may mean a slight delay. I think it may be a bang on the nose, because he normally throws himself into every challenge, and Jim McGregor in his baseball cap has come on to attend to a player who's had his share of facial injuries. In fact, we're already into stoppage time. And I know when Palace went off in the semi-final, they weren't too distressed to be one down, so presumably, Trevor, they'll be quite happy with 1-1, will they?
I think they've settled down, considering a lot of their players have, never appeared at Wembley. A big occasion like this, they'll, as I say, be disappointed that having gone one ahead, they're all square. But the first half, they competed well, played to their strengths, and waited for Manchester United to try and break them down. I think United are just having that little bit more joy because they're getting people now in wider positions and getting in those crosses, from nearer the touchline, whereas if you try and cross the ball from sort of only midway in the opposition's half, they're easy then for the back line or the goalkeeper to deal with. Once they get to the byline, they've started to cause Palace problems when they've turned them round.
Well, now it's a time when managers and coaches have to put their thinking caps on as to what they're going to say in the dressing room. We've been playing a minute of time added on by Alan Gunn for stoppages. This is Webb for Manchester United. And it's Phelan. And there is the half-time whistle, and the two teams in the 1990 FA Cup final go off level. I can see Steve Popple sprinting down the touchline to get there first, which is his normal routine. But he saw his team, the outsiders, go into the lead here. And then as Manchester United began to get their game together, led by Brian Robson, they cancelled out that goal in which O'Reilly figured so prominently. And Robson was the man who came in at the far post with the header to put things right for the favourites. So at half-time at Wembley, it's Crystal Palace 1, Manchester United 1.